The world's a crazy place right now, especially for those of us who are out on the road traveling. And the most common question that we're getting from our family and friends is, what's next? And the honest answer is, we don't know.
As I'm sure you're aware, there's a lot of news out there. It's hard to determine what's real and what's not real. We're doing our best to kind of filter through this stuff and present it to you in this video. But best case scenario, if and when you're ready to travel, make sure you visit the official websites for governments or travel agencies or things like that that are actually going to get you the right information.
For those of you who haven't seen our videos before, Ryan and I started traveling full-time in February of 2020. We arrived in Marrakesh on March 10th with the expectation to stay for 1 week, but the travel restrictions hit while we were there. So we moved from Marrakesh to Rabat to be closer to the US Embassy. There were several options for repatriation flights to go back home to the United States, but we decided to stay here in Rabat in hopes of potentially seeing more of Morocco and moving on to continue traveling the world when it is safe and responsible to do so.
Hey everyone, so we're filming this on May 24th. Today's the last day of Ramadan. Eid Mubarak to anybody who's observing. So we wanted to kind of give an update as to what's going on here in Morocco. Earlier this week they announced that our lockdown is going to be extended through June 10th. So that's a little disappointing for us. We were kind of ready to get out and start exploring more of the country, seeing more sights around here, but you know, we have to do what we have to do to make sure that we stay safe and we keep others safe too. So we understand. Tell you a little bit more about what's going on here. During the day, we're still required to carry an official document that we got from the government that allows us to go to the grocery store or to the pharmacy to get medicine, things like that. Progression is, you know, things are happening, things are moving a little bit forward. Our understanding as to how the government is going to let loose on the quarantine is that they're going to do it regionally or by cities. We don't know for sure. This is not official, so please don't take our word for it until you hear something official. Hopefully we'll learn more within the coming days or a couple weeks or whatever, but that's what we understand is going on. We've been getting a lot of our news, by the way, from Morocco World News, which is a website. It's been really incredible. It's in English, so it's easy for us to understand exactly what's going on. Also, there's a really great Facebook page that we've been following. It's called Coronavirus Morocco News and Updates. Selena, she's the administrator for the website, has been incredible. Very, very appreciative to Selena. With that being said, we kind of want to go over what our future plans are, what we're going to do, what we're reading, what we're thinking we're going to do, and we'll share that stuff with you too.
So now, as the potential for Morocco opening its borders is getting closer and closer, we have some decisions to make. When we left, our goal was to travel the world for a year, so we can continue on that path and try to see more destinations. We also have the option to maybe stay here in Morocco and see more sights, or we could just go home.
So one option is to stay here in Morocco. Everybody's been really kind to us while we've been here so far, and there's so much more to see and so much more that we're excited to learn about.
But we don't know what the visa situation is going to look like when Morocco opens its borders and its airspace.
So one thing that's really interesting to me is Essaouira and Agadir, coastal cities on the Atlantic. They're supposed to be beautiful beach towns, great surfing, although I don't surf, might be able to learn and pick it up.
Yeah.
But that'd be really cool.
And the weather there is supposed to be beautiful in the summer. According to Google, it maxes out around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect, beautiful summer weather, so that would be really nice.
Casablanca is another location. You've probably heard about the movie, or for those who live in Morocco, you've probably heard about the city. In any case, it's the White City. It's said to be the largest city in Morocco. It actually has the second largest mosque in the whole world too. Or there's Fez. Fez actually has the largest Medina of any of the cities in Morocco. Medina is just kind of like where the old original city was started, and it's built inside of a wall. So that would be really interesting. We're supposed to have really, really incredible markets and souks there as well.
Or you might have heard about Morocco's blue city, which is Chefchaouen, where the whole city is blue. It's supposed to be beautiful and amazing. You've probably seen a lot of pictures of that city on Instagram.
Or we could always just go back to Marrakesh. We were only there for a few days, or at least we only spent a few days touring Marrakesh just because of what happened with the pandemic. So it'd be nice to go back and see more stuff there.
One of our options is to go to another country and continue our travels, but if we were to do that, we have a lot of things to consider. It's very safe here in Morocco. They've had a very strong response to containing the coronavirus, so any other country that we go to, we need to make sure that they've also had a strong response and that we would be okay and supported there should we get sick and catch a virus. We'll also need to consider whether or not we would have to quarantine when we get there, if we need to spend 2 weeks quarantining before we can see another country, but that's if another country would even let us in. And we also have to consider whether or not that's a country we would want to be in long term, should there be another widespread international shutdown like the one we're in now.
So other things to consider is the weather. Southern hemisphere, it's actually going into winter right now. We're about to hit the dead of summer in a lot of the other countries too. And of course, there's also the rainy season. We only have so much clothes that we brought with us. We don't want to be stuck somewhere where we're going to have to buy a whole new wardrobe. I mean, other considerations would have to be the cost. We don't want to burn through our money. If we go somewhere that's really expensive, we end up getting stuck there again with a new lockdown or something like that.
We also need to consider the actual travel part of traveling to another country, meaning getting to an airport, any kind of precautions that we need to take at the airport to be safe for the coronavirus, the time that it will take to travel, the amount of layovers that there might be between point A to point B, and whether or not those countries would be safe to spend time in. And then also, if our goal is to continue traveling, we have to consider whether or not we will be able to travel from the country that we go to another country after that, based on their coronavirus response. Now, interestingly, several countries have mentioned that they might set up what they call a travel bubble, where you can travel freely between the borders for a couple countries, like maybe Australia and New Zealand, as an example.
One last thing to consider is if we do decide to travel, regardless of where we go, especially if we're on planes, there's going to be all sorts of new rules and regulations in place, including we're probably going to have to wear masks anywhere we go, especially on planes and in airports. It's just going to kind of be the way of life, at least for the next foreseeable future.
If we do decide to continue traveling, there are a couple different places that we've researched. One of those places is Australia, which is somewhere we were actually considering flying to from Morocco before the borders closed here. Australia has had a fantastic response to the coronavirus, and there's a lot to see. It's a huge country and a lot of things that would be interesting for us. It would be winter there, so that's something that we need to consider. But possibly something that's more important is that we've read articles saying that Australia won't be open again until 2020. Now, that's not an official announcement. We've actually reached out to friends who are in Australia, and that's not something that they've heard. So we don't know for sure that that's true, but it looks like Australia may not be on our list for traveling to, at least this year.
Another place we considered is Thailand. It's supposed to have gorgeous tropical weather there, incredible beaches, really laid back atmosphere. I mean, it's supposed to be beautiful. If we decide to go there, their borders are supposedly going to open on June 30th. But again, we'll have to wait and see what the official word is.
There are a couple places we have talked about in the EU. We've been to Greece once before and we loved it. As we've been researching places to travel, Greece has come up as one of the countries that's going to try to promote tourism pretty quickly, and they're going to try to do it safely. But we've read that when they open their borders to tourists on July 1st, that it will be primarily for residents of the EU. So being US citizens, we don't know whether or not that's somewhere that we could go. Also, we have some concerns that Greece is not doing any kind of testing or any kind of required quarantine for tourists coming in. So we'd want to make sure that that's somewhere that we'd be able to travel to safely if we go there. And we have also considered going to Spain, which is just across the Strait of Gibraltar from Morocco. So it would be an easy trip to get to Spain. Very helpful. Ryan also speaks a good bit of Spanish, so it would be so it would be easy for us to get around in Spain. And there's also a lot to see there. We actually came here from Madrid with plans to go back to Spain and see Sevilla. So there's a lot on our list there. They are supposed to open to all tourists, from what we can tell, on July first as of right now.
So one last place we considered is Indonesia. It's a dream location. Bali, probably one of the most beautiful beaches on earth, if not the most beautiful. It's also a really, really strong expat population there, as well as digital nomads, kind of travelers who work remotely like us. So we'd fit right in. We don't know when their borders are going to open, and they haven't been reporting great numbers regarding the coronavirus. So we're not sure about that.
So as you can see, if we do decide to continue traveling, there are a lot of factors we need to consider, and there's a lot of research that we need to do, including deciding whether or not it's safe and right to continue traveling and seeing the world right now, even though that's what we would love to do since that was our goal for 2020. One of our options is to go home, to go back to the United States. It's not what we set out to do when we left back in February, but there is a lot to see at home in the United States, and since the US is so big, with us being from Atlanta, we haven't seen most of it. There's a lot of national parks. There's a lot of space, a lot of planes. There's a lot that we can see in a socially distant fashion. And back at home, we'd be able to potentially get an RV or a tiny house and take our life on the road there.
Some of the downsides to that, though, I think, would probably be the inconsistency in how the coronavirus was handled. We just don't know what to expect. We don't know what's going to change or what's going to happen ultimately there. And also, it's not really the cheapest country in the world.
And going home, we don't have jobs. We don't have a house. We don't have cars. So if we were to go home right now, we really would have to start over from scratch in rebuilding our lives there.
So clearly we have our work cut out for us in what we're going to do in the near future and in the coming weeks. We still have some more research to do, some more thinking, just to wait also, just to kind of see what the world's going to do. I will say this, and this is really important, if you do decide that you're going to travel, make sure you give it a lot of thought. You do your research, do your homework, listen to official statements and official news reports, and just make sure that you're safe. If you are ready to travel after you've done your homework, there are a few things that we would recommend you check out and look into. So the first one is travel health insurance. Safety Wing is for what we're using now. It's really great. They offer a couple of different plans. One of them actually even covers against pandemics. So do your research. We'll put a link in the description for you.
If you do choose to travel, a lot of airlines and tour companies are currently offering free cancellation for anything that you book for travel this year, some even into next year. So if you do want to book some travel, make sure you book with one of those companies. And if you don't, make sure you know what the cancellation policy is for anything that you book. Along the same lines, if you purchase trip insurance, so trip delay, trip cancellation insurance, make sure you understand the fine print. Most of the time, you're only covered for a list of specific reasons for cancellation to get your money back. Unfortunately, a pandemic is not under the covered reasons for most of those policies.
So that's what we have for now. Those are our plans, I guess if you can call it that. We really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. You can actually hit the subscribe button. If you hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll get notified when we post new content.
We would love to hear from you guys as well. Obviously, the biggest challenge in figuring out our next steps is gathering information. So anything reliable that you've heard that you feel like would be important for us to know, we'd love to hear about that in the comments section. We'd also love to hear what you think we should do, maybe give us some guidance along the journey, and we appreciate you being a part of our journey so far.
Thanks. So much clothes that we brought with us. We don't want to be stuck somewhere where we're gonna have to buy a whole new wardrobe or not be able to use the clothes we have and run around naked. So that's it for now. Those are our plans, I guess, if you can call them that. What did I say? So that's enough for now.